Hello, I'm Susan Elliott, the news editor of Musical America, and today we are talking to Eighth Blackbird, Musical America's 2017 Ensemble of the Year and multiple award winners. We'll be talking with the executive director and artistic director, who are also the pianist and the percussionist, and that is Lisa Kaplan and Matthew Duvall. It will be interesting to hear how the group has managed during the pandemic, both as an ensemble and as individuals. Hello to both of you, and
Hello.
thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Susan.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, and this is our first, you represent our first ensemble interview. Usually we just talk to one person. So I'm very curious to know how, as a group, you all have been surviving since March. Do you call each other every day on the phone, or how does that work?
Yes, well, I'm definitely in touch with many people, Matthew probably the most, every day.
Yes, sure.
On multiple, many times a day. But we have not yet convened the entire sextet in the same room because we don't all live in the same place. And this, as you know, there's been, like a big personnel shift. So we have essentially 4 new members, and we are expecting to all be together in the same room to rehearse in January. So up until, that point, the only way we've convened is virtually. And we've actually made several different recordings together that way, which has been really nice. I never thought I would say that, but we never thought we'd be here either.
Right.
So I think that we are really looking forward to just being in the same place and making music together that way. I've really noticed personally that even in just the projects that we've put together virtually for recording, Matthew and Zach and I come in and record our parts. Even on those days, I'm just filled with joy at being able to create music with other people. So yeah, it's really, really an interesting time as you reflect on how it feels to you personally, to you as a group, to just not be playing live concerts, which is something that we've been doing for so many years.
Yeah.
We have had, additionally, the experience of building an ensemble and establishing new relationships virtually rather than in a room rehearsing together has been fascinating. And it has been effective in different ways, I think. We have an upcoming project called Composition as Explanation, and we're working with the director, Anne Bogart, for that. And we went ahead in June with our first workshop period, which we had expected to do in Chicago, all of us together. But instead, we stuck to our schedule and we met online for several hours a day for about a week. And it was a different kind of productive, but it was still deeply informed and incredibly interesting and very, very reflective. I think that we did get very in the weeds with the text we're working with in a way that we might not have if we were doing more playing with our instruments.
So when you do play, Lisa, you mentioned that it was just felt so good to be playing with someone else. How are you doing that? Are you doing it? The lag time in Zoom is not so great. So how are you recording yourselves and then putting it together, or?
Yes. So, we haven't been holding, Zoom rehearsals at all, but the way that we've been doing the recordings is to, send the most recent one that we did. We, sent 3 of the parts and then, Ashley recorded the cello part, and then Mayani recorded the violin part, and then Lena recorded the flute part, and we just did it additively that way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's kind of fun because you hear it and you say, oh, okay, now there's 4 parts. Oh, now there's 5. Oh, now there's 6, and so, I mean, I think there are some groups who have figured out how to do remote rehearsing, and we are opting to, we've carved out these rehearsal periods where the full group will be here 3 to 4 times over the course of the season to just, hole up and rehearse. And I think for us, that's really important because since we have these new members, we need to feel what it's like just to be all together.
Right.
Our studio, we're fortunate to be to inhabit a space where we will be able to spread out, and we will be able to provide shields or protective gear as is needed, so everybody feels comfortable.
Are you in your studio now?
We are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a sizable space, and so that's a lucky thing that we'll be when we are. It is a thing that allows us the possibility of bringing the ensemble to Chicago to rehearse and not feel uncomfortably cramped in someone's house or have it impact family members or so forth.
When did you change your membership? Pardon my ignorance. I should probably know that, but when did that happen?
Yeah, no, really, by the end of spring 20, we had confirmed our personnel for 2021, and we hope going forward.
I'm curious to know about the CAW, the Creative Artists. CAW.
The Chicago Artists
Blackbird, Eighth Blackbird's cawing. Okay.
Yeah, that was that is a great example of a coronavirus pivot. We've always been a touring ensemble. That's been our main gig. We go places and we do concerts, and that of course came to an abrupt end last spring. We had created a program called the Chicago Artists Workshop a few years ago, and it was a different idea at that time with the same spirit. Eighth Blackbird has the studio like we've described, and we have a piano and instruments and chairs and music stands, and we travel a lot. And when we travel, those facilities sit empty; they're not used, and sometimes we've rented out our space. But it occurred to us that in Chicago, it might be really helpful to artists to have a place to come into work, to rehearse, to have studio time. And so we reached out to 3 different artists from varied disciplines and said, look, you want to try this? This is what we can offer. And if you would like, you're welcome to come in and use our space. And they were thrilled. And we had 3 really wonderful experiences. And we didn't organize that program formally. It was really just an internal experiment for us. But it was memorable, and it was the kind of thing you put a pin in and you think, well, maybe we'll do something real with that at some point. And then the quarantines hit, and the NEA talked to us about redirecting funding. And it occurred to us, well, we can't do concerts, we can't go places to do concerts, but what could we do that would be helpful and interesting and creative? So we waited and we thought and we planned, and what eventually came to feel right for us was the idea of creating a presenting series. So yes, we are making the move to an online platform, but the purpose of that platform is not Eighth Blackbird concerts. The purpose of that platform is for us to be able to pay fees to other artists and give them a very high caliber production space to perform their work online.
And that gets underway in what, 2 weeks? The 20th?
Yeah, on October 20th will be the first performance. Yeah.
We have so much left to do.
Okay, well, we'll make this quick.
I got to get back to work. No.
Yeah. So are you involved with these artists in any way other than, so tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I think, we have, in a sense, really just turned into curators, for this series. And so for at least, the first 5 that we have lined up, I think we will be collaborating in some way with all the musicians that we're presenting. And so I think that is going to be a really fun component, for Matthew and I, but also they're all people that we know. And so it will be fun to make music together. And then Eighth Blackbird will also do a few shows on the series itself. But as Matthew said, the real motivation was to present other artists, and in many different genres.
So these will be recorded in the studio, or will they be live streamed, or?
These will be live performances in our studio, where we want to create the urgency of a live moment. There are no plans at this time to record we'll be archiving, but there's no intent to rebroadcast. And so it's just like going to a concert. One purchases a ticket and attends the concert, and if you don't show up for the concert, then you miss the concert, which is how things usually work.
And as presenters, you are paying these folks, is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And the funding is coming from what? The NEA grant that you talked about? Or? It's
split between Eighth Blackbird operations and the NEA.
Are you still doing things like the creative residency and all these? You have all these projects that you all have been involved in. I mean, there's so much more than just an ensemble that gets up and plays. You do so many other things. So tell us about what else is going on and how the pandemic has impacted those activities.
Yeah, you've touched on a very key moment for us in that way. Eighth Blackbird, for over 2 decades, was a sextet, an ensemble, and we're very, very proud of that.
Right.
But the organization, for Lisa and I, had reached a phase in its maturity where we just felt like it needed to try new things. It needed to become something else. Everything was starting to feel too routine to us, where we could learn pieces and plug them into a program and do a concert and fly home. So Eighth Blackbird is really transitioning from an ensemble to an arts organization. And we have had other initiatives that we've worked on, some of them more formally than others, but we are making a real shift to giving equal emphasis to to a number of different initiatives that will now represent the organization. So Eighth Blackbird will continue to be a hardworking ensemble, and will tour and do premieres and do concerts. Lisa and I are making ourselves available to do programs as a duo. We call that entity Blackbird 4. That's pretty simple, percussion piano duo.
Right.
The Blackbird Creative Lab is still very much a part of our thinking and our work. We did the lab 2 times, and it grew, and there were funding challenges, and there were also curriculum challenges. What do I mean? Let me think if that's the right term. We had 30 fellows the first year and another 30 the second year, and then we had 60 that we were trying to stay in touch with.
Wow.
Our philosophy of that program is that bringing people together for that 2-week program is just the introduction. Our goal is to maintain those relationships. And so we've done a reset, and we're working on rebuilding the lab, but it's still a central part of our work. And we do stay in touch with lab members, and we do involve them in our work, and we perform their works ourselves and so on.
Your shift away from strictly performing, did that intersect, did the pandemic impact any of that at all? What was the timing like for that?
Well, we had we shifted that whole new structure about 3 months before the pandemic hit. So the timing was really interesting.
And at that point, the Chicago Artists Workshop in the current concept didn't exist. So we rewrote our business plan to include the Chicago Artist Workshop, really to put it at the front of our work for the coming season.
Yeah.
Actually, so we got, what did we get? We got through the Chicago Artist Workshop, Eighth Blackbird, Blackbird 4, the Blackbird Creative Lab, and the fifth initiative, which we hadn't mentioned yet, is Blackbird Productions. So Eighth Blackbird had always divided its work between the sextet, doing rep concerts, and developing theatrical productions, and then doing some collaborations and some other kinds of projects. But what we've done now is Eighth Blackbird is the touring sextet, and Eighth Blackbird will do concerts. The theatrical productions that we build and the repertoire that we've created over 20 plus years, we're categorizing that separately because we have a number of projects that are distinct from the sextet work, which will still, which we want to be able to develop separately because we might go in different directions with those now.
With this new business model, are you planning to have more staff? Do you have like 3 or 4 people on staff, or you did before the pandemic?
Oh, we do. And we're so lucky because we need all the help.
We know all that. Yeah, so we have a managing director, and we have a company manager, and we have a bookkeeper, and we also have a PR intern right now as well. Yeah. So I think, we're very lucky in this time to just be able to have that help. And I should add, they're all working artists in and of themselves. So.
Yeah.
And Lisa, you're still functioning as the executive director, right?
Yeah, I'm functioning as the executive director, and Matthew as the artistic director.
Right. Well, we're running out of time, or we have run out of time. So I just want to say thank you, and best of luck to you in your new incarnation, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Susan.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I feel like we could sit here for hours talking. But I'm grateful for the time we've had. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thanks
of course. Thank you.